Welcome to Hypnos Cosmos. Let your body settle now, and grow heavy and still. There is nowhere you need to be tonight, and nothing you need to do but rest. Tonight we are going to travel to the strangest object in all the universe, the densest, the fiercest, the most extreme thing that exists anywhere in the sky. A neutron star. And I promise you, though it is the most violent thing we have ever found, there is nothing here to fear. From where we will be drifting, it is silent, and steady, and endlessly, hypnotically calm. We will go there together, slowly, and we will understand it, and it will carry you gently down into sleep. It is a strange comfort, perhaps, to fall asleep to the story of the most violent thing in the universe. But I think there is a real peace in it, and it is this, that no matter how fierce a thing is, distance makes it gentle, and understanding makes it calm. The things we do not understand can frighten us in the dark. But a thing we have looked at closely, and turned over, and come to know, even the fiercest thing, becomes, in the end, just a part of the world, taking its place among all the other wonders, no longer a terror but a marvel. Tonight we will take the most extreme object there is, and look at it until it becomes familiar, and gentle, and even soothing, a small steady light, turning far away, that we understand, and need not fear. And by the time we are done, it will feel less like a monster and more like a distant lighthouse, keeping its faithful watch while you sleep. So let us begin, as always, with a single breath. Breathe in, slowly, and let the air fill you. And let it go. Breathe in again, without any effort at all, and let it fall away, and feel your shoulders soften, and your body sink a little deeper into the bed. There is no right way to do this. Simply let the breath move on its own, like a slow tide, in and out, as it has all your life, without you ever having to ask. Feel the weight of yourself now, held by the bed, held by the soft turning earth beneath it. You are safe. You are held. Let your eyes close, and in the quiet dark behind them, let a picture begin to form. Feel, too, how gravity holds you here. The same force that will crush a star into a neutron star is the gentle hand that keeps you resting on your bed, that settles the covers over you, that holds your body softly to the world so you do not drift away. It is the same force, everywhere in the universe, fierce beyond imagining in a dying star, and here, in your room, only a soft and constant kindness, a gentle weight, a hand on your back holding you down into rest. Let it hold you. Let yourself be heavy in its grip. There is nowhere to fall, and nothing to hold on to, because the oldest force in the universe is already holding you, gently, exactly where you are. And let the day fall away from you first. Whatever it held, its noise, its small worries, its unfinished business, let it loosen now, and drift off, like a coat slipping from your shoulders. You do not need it here. Where we are going, there is nothing to carry and nothing to do. There is only the dark, and the drifting, and one small extraordinary star to marvel at, and sleep at the end of it. Let the day go. It has had its hours. This hour is for rest. Feel your breathing slow, and deepen, all on its own. Feel the small weight of the covers, the give of the pillow, the warmth gathering around you. And let the room grow quiet and dim in your mind, and let its walls soften and fall away, until there is only you, and the warm dark, and the sense of drifting gently upward and outward, away from the small and the near, out toward the vast and the quiet. We are far out in space, far from Earth, far from the sun, out among the stars of our galaxy. And ahead of us, filling the dark, is a star. But not a gentle star like our own. This one is a giant, a vast blue-white supergiant, 10, 20 times the mass of our sun, blazing with a fury that would drown our own star like a candle beside a bonfire. It is enormous. It is beautiful. And it is dying. because that is where a neutron star begins, in the death of a giant. So before we can understand the strange small thing we have come to see, we must watch the great thing it was born from. Let us drift here a while, in the light of this doomed and glorious star, and watch how it comes to its end. A star, any star, is a long and quiet war. It is a war between two enormous forces, held in perfect balance for millions or billions of years. On one side, gravity, the star's own colossal weight, all those countless tons of gas pulling relentlessly inward, always trying to crush the star down into itself. And on the other side, fire, the fusion burning in the star's heart, where the pressure is so great that atoms are forced together and pour out light, and that outrushing light and heat pushes back against the crushing weight, and holds the star up. Gravity pulls in. Fire pushes out. And for the whole long life of a star, the two are matched, and the star burns on, steady and bright, in perfect balance. It is worth pausing on that balance, because it is the quiet miracle underneath every star in the sky, including our own. Every point of light you have ever seen on a clear night is a place where these two enormous forces have found, and held, a truce so steady that it can last 10 billion years. Too much fire, and the star would blow itself apart. Too much gravity, and it would collapse in an instant. But held just so, matched exactly, the star simply shines, pouring out light, warming its worlds, keeping its long patient balance in the dark. Our own sun has held that balance for 4.5 billion years, and will hold it for 5 billion more, and never once, in all that time, has it needed to be tended or adjusted or watched. It simply holds itself, quietly, by the pure arithmetic of forces, and shines. There is a kind of peace in knowing that the stars are not struggling, not straining, they are resting, in a way, in perfect equilibrium, held up by their own light against their own weight, steady and calm for ages upon ages. And even the star we are watching tonight, the doomed giant, is at peace right now, in this moment, still holding its balance, still shining, unaware that its long truce is nearly at its end. Let it shine a while longer. There is no hurry. Even a dying star gets to spend most of its life simply, quietly, burning. But the fire needs fuel. And fuel runs out. For most of its life, this great supergiant burns hydrogen, the simplest and lightest element, fusing it into helium in its core, pouring out light. But a giant like this burns furiously, recklessly. It is so massive, its core so hot and so pressured, that it races through its hydrogen in just a few million years, where our modest sun will sip at its fuel for 10 billion. And when the hydrogen at the core runs low, the fire falters, and for a moment gravity gains the upper hand, and the core shrinks and heats, until it grows hot enough to begin burning the helium itself, fusing it into carbon, and the star steadies again, burning a new and heavier fuel. And when the helium runs out, it burns the carbon. And then the neon. And then the oxygen. Each fuel harder to burn than the last, each one lasting a shorter time, the carbon burning for perhaps 1,000 years, the oxygen for only a year, each stage a desperate deeper breath as the star fights to hold itself up. And deep inside, the star becomes like an onion, lead, hydrogen burning in a thin shell near the surface, and helium below that, and carbon below that, and neon, and oxygen, each layer wrapped around the next, all of them burning at once, and at the very center, growing heavier every hour, a core of the last and heaviest ash the star can make. It is a strange and beautiful structure to picture, this dying giant, a vast glowing sphere, larger than the orbit of a planet, and inside it these nested shells of fire, one within the next, each burning a different fuel at a different fierce temperature, all of them wrapped around that growing iron heart like the layers of some enormous seed. Nothing about it is still, every shell is churning, boiling, pouring its energy upward and outward. And yet from the outside it looks almost serene, a single great star, glowing in the dark, giving no hint of the frantic layered furnace within. Let us drift here in its light a little longer, watching it burn, knowing what is coming, in no hurry to see it. Even now, even this close to the end, there is time. The star does not know it is dying. It only knows how to burn, and so it burns, beautifully, to the very last. Iron. And iron is the end. Iron is the ash that cannot burn. For every element lighter than iron, fusing it together releases energy. That is what has kept the star alive all this time. But iron is different. To fuse iron takes more energy than it gives back. When the star tries to burn its iron core, the fire does not push out, it takes energy in. And so, at the center of the dying giant, the fire simply stops. And think how strange and how sad and how grand that final hour is. For millions of years the star has fought, burning hydrogen for an age, then helium, then carbon, each fuel harder and shorter than the last, each one a deeper and more desperate breath. Near the very end, the pace becomes frantic. The oxygen burns for perhaps a year. The silicon, the very last fuel, the star burns in a single day, one day, to make the iron that will kill it. A star that has lived for 10 million years spends its final day building the ash that ends it, layering iron into its heart hour by hour, and the more iron it makes, the heavier its core grows, and the closer it comes to the edge. It is building its own tombstone, and it cannot stop, because stopping is death too, and there is nothing left to burn. And all through this, from the outside, the star looks almost calm. Its surface may swell and redden, but it gives no sign of the frantic lead burning within, the desperate deepening war in its heart. It burns on, apparently steady, right up until the final instant, the way a great many endings come, quietly on the surface and furiously underneath, until all at once they arrive. And then the iron core grows just a little too heavy, crosses a line no one could see, and the fire, which has held back the crushing weight for 10 million years, takes its energy in instead of giving it out, and falters, and dies. And in that instant, the long war is over. Gravity has been waiting a million years for this moment. And now, with nothing left to hold it up, nothing at all, the core of the star begins to fall. What happens next is the most violent event in the entire universe, and it happens faster than thought. The iron core of the star, about the size of the Earth but far heavier than our Sun, has been held up by the frantic pressure of its own packed particles. But now that the fire is gone, gravity crushes it past the point where even that can hold. And in less than a single second, in about a quarter of a second, the core collapses. An object the size of a planet falls inward and crushes itself down to a ball just a few miles across. The outer edge of the collapsing core falls inward at a quarter of the speed of light, 170 million kilometers an hour. Nothing in your experience can prepare you for how fast and how total this is. A world, crushed to a city, in the time it takes to blink. And as it crushes down, something extraordinary happens to the matter itself. The pressure grows so unimaginably fierce that atoms simply cannot survive it. You may know that ordinary matter, the matter of your body, of the Earth, of everything you have ever touched, is almost entirely empty space. An atom is a tiny dense nucleus with a few electrons whirling far, far around it, and between them, nothing. If an atom were the size of a great cathedral, the nucleus would be a single grain of salt at its center, and all the rest would be empty air. Everything solid you have ever known is really that emptiness, held apart by the electrons. But in the collapsing core, gravity crushes that emptiness out. The electrons are driven down, forced into the nuclei, and there they merge with the protons and become neutrons. And the atoms collapse, the empty cathedrals fold down to the size of their own grains of salt. All that emptiness, gone. What is left is pure neutrons, packed together with no space between them at all, as dense as the nucleus of an atom itself, the densest state that matter can take before it becomes a black hole. An entire star's core, all of that mass, squeezed until there is no emptiness left anywhere inside it. That is a neutron star. And it is being born, right now, in front of us, at the heart of the collapse. And here is a strange and quiet wonder to hold, that a whole neutron star, this entire object heavier than the sun, is, in a sense, a single thing. Not a ball of countless separate atoms, as everything else is, but one vast connected sea of neutrons, packed so tightly they lose their separateness, closer to a single enormous atomic nucleus than to a normal ball of matter. When ordinary things are crushed together hard enough, they stop being many things and become one thing. A whole star, become a single object, indivisible, seamless, turning in the dark. There is nothing else like it. Every other large thing in the universe, every planet, every star, every galaxy, is really a loose crowd of separate pieces held near each other. A neutron star is one piece. The only truly solid, truly single object of its size in all of creation. Let that be a soft thought as we drift closer. In a universe made almost entirely of crowds and clouds and scatterings, of things held loosely near other things, here is one place where everything has come together into a single, seamless whole. There is a kind of peace in that too, in things that are, for once, not scattered, but gathered, not many, but one, not restless, but whole. And when the falling core hits that density, when it can be crushed no further, it stops, suddenly, and it rebounds. It bounces. A shockwave, unimaginably powerful, tears outward from the center. And meanwhile the collapse has flooded the star with an ocean of tiny ghostly particles called neutrinos, so many, and carrying so much energy, that even though neutrinos almost never touch anything at all, there are so many of them that they slam into the falling outer layers of the star and blast them outward. The shockwave and the neutrinos together catch the vast outer envelope of the star, everything outside the core, many times the mass of our sun, and they throw it off into space. The star explodes. A supernova. Let us pull back, now, and watch it from a safe and distant place, and let the silence of space wrap around us, because sound cannot cross the void, and so the most violent explosion in the universe happens in perfect quiet. There is only light. And oh, the light! For a few weeks, this single dying star blazes brighter than 100 billion suns, brighter than the entire galaxy of stars around it, all of them put together. A single point of light, outshining 400 billion others. If it happened near enough, it would be visible in broad daylight on Earth, brighter than anything but the sun and moon, and it would burn there in the sky for weeks before slowly fading. Try, gently, to picture the scale of that brightness. Our sun, close as it is, lights the whole of our day, warms the whole of our world, and is so bright we cannot look at it. Now imagine a single star, so far away it should be an invisible speck, briefly shining as bright as 100 billion suns, as bright as an entire galaxy. For a few weeks, this one dying star, thousands of light years off, pours out more light than all the 400 billion stars of its galaxy combined. If you could stand outside the galaxy and watch, you would see the whole great wheel of stars, and then, at one edge, a single point flaring up until it rivaled the entire rest of the galaxy put together, one star, briefly, outshining all the others there are. And then, over weeks and months, softening, dimming, fading back into the dark, its light spreading out into the great glowing cloud, until the point is gone, and only the slowly expanding remnant remains, and the small turning heart at its center. The brightest thing the universe makes, and it lasts only weeks, and then it too grows quiet. And in that explosion, the star does one last act of creation. The heat and fury are so extreme that new elements are forged in the blast and scattered outward, much of the gold in the universe, the silver, the heavier metals, cooked in the star's final moment and flung out into space to drift for ages, and gather, and one day become new stars, new worlds, new rings, new coins, new rings on new fingers. Everything the star spent its life building, and everything it makes in its death, is given away, thrown out into the dark, a great glowing cloud expanding into the night at millions of kilometers an hour. And most of the energy of that titanic explosion, this is one of the strangest facts of all, is not in the light, and not in the flung-out matter, but in those tiny ghostly neutrinos. The supernova pours out, in a few seconds, more neutrinos than there are grains of sand on every world in the galaxy, more than the mind can begin to hold, and almost all of them pass straight through everything, through the exploding star, through the dark, through anything in their path, felt by nothing. In the few seconds of the core's collapse, the dying star shines, in neutrinos, brighter than all the other stars in the entire visible universe put together. And you would never see it, because those neutrinos slip through your eyes, through your body, through the whole Earth, without ever touching a thing. The most luminous event in the cosmos happens almost entirely in a form of light we cannot see, made of particles that barely exist. Even now, as you lie here, neutrinos from distant dying stars are streaming through you, through your closed eyes, through your resting body, through your bed and the floor and the whole Earth beneath you, trillions of them, every second, from supernovae near and far, felt by nothing, harming nothing, silent messengers of distant deaths passing through you as though you were not there. There is something oddly peaceful in that the universe is full of gentle ghosts, passing through everything, disturbing nothing, carrying the news of dying stars across the dark, asking nothing of anyone. But we did not come for the explosion. We came for what it leaves behind. Let the great glowing cloud drift away and thin and fade, over years, over centuries. And there, at the very center of where the star used to be, in the middle of the expanding wreckage, something small remains. Something that survived the collapse. Something no larger than a city, and heavier than the sun, spinning in the dark. Let us go and see it. But before we go in close, let us drift a while at a distance, and let the strangeness of the situation settle over us slowly, because it is worth taking gently. We are floating in the dark, near the site of a supernova. The great explosion is centuries past now, its light has faded, the cloud it flung out has spread and thinned into a vast soft ghost, light years wide, still drifting outward, glowing faintly in colors the eye can barely catch, greens and reds and dusty golds, the last exhalation of a star that blazed brighter than a galaxy and then went quiet. We are drifting inside the remains of something that died. And it is completely silent. There is no sound out here, and there never was. The most violent event the universe knows how to make happened in perfect stillness, and its aftermath is stiller yet, a slow, cold, luminous fog, expanding into the night, in no hurry at all. And somewhere in the middle of it, too small to see from here, is the survivor. To find it, you would not look for a shape, there is no shape to see. You would look, instead, for a rhythm, a faint, regular flicker, a pulse in the dark, ticking away with a steadiness that nothing natural should possess. That flicker is the only sign. The densest object in the universe announces itself not by its size, for it has almost none, but by its heartbeat. Look, as we drift, at the beauty of the ruin around us. A supernova remnant is one of the loveliest things in the sky, great sweeping filaments of glowing gas, threads and sheets and delicate lacework, colored in soft reds where hydrogen glows, and greens, and blues, and dusty golds, all of it lit faintly from within, all of it expanding, slowly, over the centuries, into ever more intricate and delicate forms. It looks less like the wreckage of an explosion than like something grown, like frost on a window, or the veins of a leaf, or smoke frozen in the act of curling. This is what is left of the star's outer body, the layers it burned and the layers it never got to burn, all flung out and spread thin across light years, glowing gently in the dark. The star gave its whole self away in its death, and this soft luminous cloud, drifting outward forever, is the shape of that giving. And in 100,000 years, this cloud will have thinned and spread so far that it will merge back into the general gas of the galaxy, indistinguishable, gone, its atoms drifting on, mixing with other clouds, waiting, patiently, to be gathered one day into new stars and new worlds. Nothing here is wasted. The star's body becomes the raw material of stars not yet born. Even in dying, it is already, quietly, making the next generation possible. Drift through it gently, this beautiful fading ruin, and feel no sorrow in it, only the soft turning of things, the endless giving and gathering, the way the universe never truly ends anything, but only changes its shape. Let us follow that pulse inward. And as we go, let the distances be a comfort rather than a strain. Everything out here is enormous and slow and gentle. The cloud we drift through is so thin that, dense as it looks from far away, you could pass your hand through it and feel nothing at all, a few atoms in the space of a room, colder than anything on Earth, drifting slower than the slowest tide. There is nothing here that moves quickly except the light. There is nothing here that could ever startle you. We are drifting through the quietest kind of ruin there is, toward a small steady beacon at its heart, and there is all the time in the world. Drift, and breathe, and let the beacon draw a little nearer with each breath. Let its rhythm begin, faintly, to reach you, that slow, faithful, unwavering pulse, ticking in the dark, older than any clock, patient as stone. There is no effort in this approach. We are not flying, not rushing, not straining toward the star. We are simply drifting, the way a leaf drifts on a slow current, the way a thought drifts at the edge of sleep, carried, without trying, gently closer, one soft moment at a time. The star does not grow quickly. It has no need to. We have all night, and further to fall into rest than into the dark, and every moment of the drift is a moment of letting go a little more. Let the cloud thin around you. Let the pulse grow slowly clearer. Let your body grow slowly heavier. There is nowhere we need to arrive, and no time we need to arrive by, and the drifting itself is the whole of the point. Breathe in, slowly, and let the beacon draw nearer. Breathe out, and sink a little deeper. And again. And again. In, and nearer. Out, and deeper. Until the two motions become one, the drift toward the star and the drift toward sleep, the same slow, gentle falling, carrying you softly down. So let us approach it. Let us drift in, slowly, through the last thinning wisps of the supernova cloud, toward the small dark survivor at its heart. And at first there is almost nothing to see. After all that light, all that fury, the thing that remains is tiny, a sphere perhaps 20 kilometers across, no wider than a city, lost in the enormous dark. You could drive across it in 20 minutes, if there were any way to stand upon it, which there is not. It is smaller than many of the moons of the outer planets. It is smaller than some of the asteroids. It is the size of a town. And it contains more mass than the sun. And notice its color, as we draw near. A young neutron star, freshly born, is fantastically hot, 1,000,000 degrees at its surface, far hotter than the surface of our sun, and so it glows, but not in the warm yellow-white of an ordinary star. It glows a fierce blue-white, the color of the very hottest flames, and much of its light pours out in X-rays, invisible to the eye. To look at directly, if you could, it would be a small, brilliant, blue-white point, almost too bright and too sharp to bear, and yet so tiny that from any distance it shrinks to a single gleaming speck, a chip of blue diamond, impossibly bright, impossibly small, set against the black. As it ages, over thousands and millions of years, it cools and dims, its blue-white fading toward a deeper red, then toward darkness, until the oldest ones glow only faintly, or not at all. But this one, our one, at the heart of its young supernova cloud, still burns that fierce electric blue, a hot bright jewel turning in the dark. Let that sit with you, softly, as we drift closer. Everything our sun is, that vast boiling ocean of fire, 1,000,000 Earths would fit inside it, all of that, and more, is packed into this small dark ball the size of a city, floating quietly in the dark ahead of us. More than the whole mass of the sun, in something you could walk across in an afternoon. This is the densest thing in all the universe, save only a black hole. And the numbers of it are so far beyond ordinary experience that they stop meaning anything, and become almost like poetry. Let me give them to you gently, not to strain your mind, but to wash over you like something from a dream. A single teaspoon of this star, one small teaspoon of neutron star matter, would weigh about 1 billion tons. 1 billion tons in a teaspoon. That is the weight of a mountain. That is the weight of every car on Earth, all of them together, balanced on a single spoon. If you could somehow bring the smallest grain of it back to Earth, a piece the size of a grain of sand, it would weigh as much as a large building, and it would fall straight through the floor, and through the ground, and down toward the center of the Earth, because nothing we have could ever hold it up. A sugar cube of it would weigh more than all of humanity put together, every person alive, some 8 billion of us, compressed into a cube you could hold between 2 fingers. If it could be held, which it could not. This is what happens when you take a star and crush all the emptiness out of it. This is what matter truly weighs, when there is no space left inside it at all. And here is perhaps the gentlest way to feel it. Take a single sugar cube, small enough to rest on your tongue, light enough that you would not notice its weight in your hand. Now imagine that same small cube, but made of neutron star matter. It would weigh about as much as a mountain, as much as the whole of Mount Everest, resting in the palm of your hand. It would not rest there, of course. It would fall instantly through your hand, through the floor, through the rock beneath the house, sinking down toward the center of the Earth, because nothing on Earth is strong enough to hold it. A sugar cube, heavier than a mountain. That is the density we are drifting toward. That is what it means to crush the emptiness out of matter. Let us stay with that thought a moment, because it is one of the strangest true things there is, and it is worth holding gently. Everything you have ever known, this bed, your own body, the whole solid Earth, is almost entirely nothing. If you took the entire human race, all 8 billion of us, and crushed out all the empty space inside our atoms, packing us down to neutron star density, all of humanity would fit inside a single sugar cube. If you did the same to the whole Earth, took our entire planet, oceans, and mountains and molten core and all, and squeezed every atom's emptiness away, the whole Earth would collapse into a ball you could roll across a room, about the size of a large marble, and it would weigh exactly what the Earth weighs now. That marble is what the Earth would be, if it were a neutron star. We think of matter as solid, as heavy, as real. But it is mostly a kind of scaffolding of forces holding emptiness apart. The solidity of the world is a beautiful illusion, the electrons pushing against one another, refusing to touch, holding everything at arm's length. And a neutron star is what remains when that refusal finally loses. It is matter with the illusion stripped away. It is the world made real, and small, and unbearably heavy. And it is not even uniform inside, it has layers, like a strange dead planet. Let us imagine sinking down through it, in our minds only, since nothing could ever truly go there. At the very surface, that gleaming iron crust, smooth as still water. Just below it, a sea, an ocean, of a kind, though not of water, a liquid layer of nuclei and free electrons, crushed and flowing. And below that, as the pressure climbs, the matter does something no matter anywhere else in the universe does. It arranges itself into shapes. They call it with a kind of gentle scientific humor, nuclear pasta. Deep in the crust, the crushed nuclei are squeezed so tightly that they can no longer sit as separate grains. Instead they merge into long strands, like spaghetti, and then, deeper still, into flat sheets, like lasagna, and then into stranger forms yet, with hollows and tunnels through them. Sheets and tubes and bubbles of nuclear matter, stacked in vast microscopic layers, the strongest material in the entire universe, 10 billion times stronger than steel, holding up the crust of a star. Pasta, holding up a dead sun. And beneath the pasta, the great inner ocean, a superfluid sea of neutrons, flowing with no friction at all, so that once it begins to move it never slows, swirling forever in vortices thinner than a hair, threaded through with a magnetic field of impossible strength. And at the very center, the deepest heart, where the pressure passes beyond anything we can reproduce or even properly imagine, nobody knows. The neutrons themselves may break down into their smallest pieces, quarks set loose to roam free in a way they can do nowhere else in the universe. Or something stranger still. It is one of the very few places left in all of nature where we simply have to say, we do not know what is there. We cannot go. We cannot make it. We can only wonder. Let that be a soft and restful mystery, not a troubling one. There is something deeply peaceful in a question with no answer, a locked room at the center of a dead star, that no one will ever enter, holding a secret the universe keeps entirely to itself. You do not have to solve it. You can simply let it be, and drift on past, towards sleep. And the gravity. Standing on the surface of this star, if you could stand, which you could not for the smallest fraction of an instant, the gravity would be over 100 billion times stronger than the gravity you feel right now, lying in your bed. 100 billion times. On Earth, if you climbed a tall mountain and fell, you would fall gently, by cosmic standards, and reach the ground in a few seconds. On a neutron star, an object dropped from just 1 meter up would hit the surface in a millionth of a second, striking at over 2,000 kilometers a second, faster than anything human hands have ever made. A single marshmallow, dropped onto a neutron star, would hit with the energy of an atomic bomb. You could not stand there. You could not exist there. You, or I, or anything made of atoms, brought near that surface, would be flattened instantly into a film thinner than paper, spread across the star, your atoms crushed into the same dense neutron matter as everything else. There is no gentle way to say it. This is not a place for anything soft. And yet we say all this only to measure the power of the thing, never to bring you near it. We will not go down there. We have no need to, and no wish to. We are drifting, high and safe, in the calm dark, looking on, and from here, all that crushing force is only a number, only a fact, only a marvel to turn over in the mind and set gently down. The gravity that would flatten a world cannot so much as ruffle you, at this distance. It reaches out only a little way, and fades, and leaves the vast dark all around it perfectly gentle, perfectly safe, perfectly still. We can hold the fact of that terrible surface in our minds, and feel no fear at all, because knowing about a danger and being in it are entirely different things, and we are only knowing, tonight, warm and far away, while the danger turns quietly to itself in the distant dark. And yet, and this is the strange grace of it, from here, from where we are drifting, at a safe distance in the dark, it is utterly peaceful. All that violence, all that impossible weight, is held within a small, quiet, perfect sphere, turning silently in the black. It does not reach out for us. It does not threaten us. It simply is, the most extreme object in creation, sitting quietly in the dark, minding its own business, as it has for 1,000 years, or 1,000,000, or 10,000,000. We can look at it, and wonder at it, and feel entirely safe. The most dangerous place in the universe is also, from a distance, one of the most serene. Let us look at its surface as we drift slowly around it. It is smooth, smoother than anything you have ever seen or touched, smoother than glass, smoother than a still pond. Because the gravity is so overwhelming, nothing can rise up from that surface. The tallest mountain a neutron star can hold is perhaps a few millimeters high, a bump the width of a fingernail, and to raise even that takes forces beyond imagining. The whole vast city-sized ball is a perfect sphere, polished by gravity to within a hair, gleaming faintly, spinning in the dark. And its surface is solid, a crust, they think, of iron and lighter nuclei, packed into a lattice unimaginably stronger than any steel, 10 billion times stronger, a crust so rigid that if you could somehow strike it, it would ring. Beneath that crust, deeper down, the matter grows stranger still, a sea of free neutrons that behaves like a liquid with no friction at all, a perfect superfluid, flowing forever without slowing. And at the very center, in the deepest heart of the star, under pressures we can barely even write down, nobody truly knows what happens. The matter there may become something we have no name for, quarks set free from the particles that hold them, or stranger things still, states of matter that exist nowhere else in the universe, that we can never make, and never touch, and never see. The core of a neutron star is one of the last true mysteries, a place where the rules we know may simply stop. Let us drift slowly, all the way around it, and take our time, and let the strangeness of its surface settle into us the way cold settles into still water. Imagine, if you gently can, standing far enough above it to be safe, and looking down. You would see a sphere so perfectly smooth that your eye would find nothing to rest on, no mountains, no valleys, no features of any kind, only a faint gleam curving away in every direction, like a ball of dark polished metal, or a drop of mercury, or the surface of a still black pond at midnight. There is nothing like it anywhere else. Every world you have ever seen or imagined, every planet, every moon, is rough, cratered, cracked, wrinkled, worn. They have mountains and canyons and seas. But this star is smooth beyond smoothness, ground down by its own crushing gravity to a roundness truer than anything human hands could ever make, truer than the finest lens, truer than a bearing in a machine. The tallest thing it can hold on its whole surface is a bump the height of a grain of sugar. It is the smoothest object in the universe. And it is small enough to walk across, if walking were possible, which it is not. 20 kilometers, side to side. You could ride a bicycle across a neutron star in an hour, if the gravity did not flatten you to a smear of atoms in less than the blink of an eye. Hold those two facts together, gently, and feel how strange they are side by side, a thing small enough to cross on foot, that weighs more than the sun. A thing the size of a city, that contains a star. Everything about it is a contradiction that the universe somehow resolves, enormous and tiny, violent and still, a corpse and yet the most alive-seeming thing in the sky, ticking, spinning, blazing with power, and utterly, perfectly silent. Think again of the weight of it, slowly, without straining. We said a teaspoon would weigh 1 billion tons. Let us sit with that, because the mind slides off such a number, and it is worth catching hold of once. 1 billion tons is roughly the weight of every human being on Earth, and every car, and every building in a great city, and every ship in every harbor, all of it together, balanced on a single teaspoon. Now imagine the whole star made of that. Every teaspoon of it, a mountain's worth of weight. A sphere 20 kilometers wide, and every spoonful a mountain. That is why it holds together so fiercely, that is why nothing can rise from it, that is why it is smoother than glass. The weight is simply beyond anything the word weight was ever meant to carry. And now imagine dropping something onto it, not to be cruel to your imagination, but to feel the gravity in your body. A single apple, released from a meter above the surface. On Earth, it would fall for half a second and land with a soft thud. Here, it would reach the surface in about 1 millionth of a second, striking at more than 2,000 kilometers every second, and in that instant it would release the energy of a large atomic bomb, and cease to be an apple, and cease to be anything, its atoms crushed instantly into the same neutron matter as the rest of the star. A snowflake, drifting down onto a neutron star, would arrive as an explosion. There is no gentle landing here. There is no soft anything. The gravity permits nothing slow. And yet you are safe. Say it to yourself, softly, as we drift, you are safe. All of this, the crushing weight, the flattening gravity, the instant annihilation of anything that touches it, all of it is held within that small sphere, and it reaches out only a little way, and we are far, far outside its grasp, drifting in the calm dark, watching, untouched. The most dangerous surface in the universe cannot harm you any more than a photograph of a fire can burn you. You are held, warm and whole, in your bed, on your gentle world, an unthinkable distance away, looking on at something terrible and beautiful that cannot ever reach you. There is a particular kind of deep safety in that, the safety of watching a storm from inside a warm house, the rain streaming down the glass, the wind howling, and you dry, and held, and utterly out of its reach. Let yourself feel that safety now. The universe is full of terrible power, and none of it is here, in this room, and none of it can find you tonight. Drift here, in the dark, around this small impossible sphere, and let the mystery of it be restful rather than troubling. There are things the universe keeps to itself. There are doors that stay closed. And there is a deep peace in knowing that not everything must be understood, that some things can simply be marveled at, quietly, from a safe distance, in the dark, as you drift towards sleep. And there is something uncanny about simply looking at it, up close, that is worth pausing on, because it is beautiful and strange and gentle all at once. The gravity of a neutron star is so strong that it bends light. Light, which we think of as traveling in perfectly straight lines, is pulled and curved as it passes near this small heavy sphere, the way a marble curves as it rolls past a deep dip in a sheet. And near a neutron star, that bending is so extreme that something impossible happens. You can see the back of the star. The far side of it. The part facing away from you. Because the light leaving the hidden far surface is bent so sharply around the edges by the star's gravity that it curves back toward you and reaches your eye, so that the whole rear hemisphere is lifted up and wrapped around the visible edge, like looking at a globe and somehow seeing the countries on its far side smeared around the rim. More than half of the star's surface is visible at once. Some of the light circles so tightly that it loops most of the way around before escaping. If you drifted close enough, and looked just so, you might catch a faint ghostly ring, the glow of the star wrapped fully around itself, light that has bent right around the sphere and come back out toward you. Nothing on Earth looks like this. Nothing can. It is a sight that exists only in the presence of a gravity this fierce, a small bright sphere, wearing a halo made of its own far side. And what would it be like to approach it, truly approach it, to fall toward that surface? We will not do this, of course, we are drifting safely, and we will stay safe. But let us imagine it, gently, from a distance, the way you might watch a storm from behind glass. As you fell toward a neutron star, at first, nothing. The dark, the small bright sphere growing slowly, the faint sweep of its beam. But the gravity climbed so steeply that soon the pull on your feet, nearer the star, would be noticeably greater than the pull on your head, and then dramatically greater, and then unbearably so. Long before you reach the surface, that difference would stretch you, gently at first and then not gently at all, drawing you out into a long thin thread. The astronomers have a soft and almost silly word for it, for something so extreme, they call it spaghettification. You would be drawn out into a strand, and the strand into a finer strand, and at the last you would arrive at the surface not as anything you would recognize, but as a fine rain of particles, joining the crushed matter of the star, becoming part of it, adding your infinitesimal weight to a thing already heavier than the sun. But do not let that trouble you. No one will ever fall onto a neutron star. It is only a thing that could happen, out in the dark, to nothing and no one, a possibility that will almost certainly never occur anywhere, ever. We say it only to feel, from a great and comfortable distance, how absolute the power of this small thing is. And then we drift back, and it becomes again what it truly is to us tonight, a faint, safe, beautiful point of light, turning steadily in the dark, that cannot reach us, and never will. But we have not yet spoken of the most astonishing thing about this star. It is not only impossibly dense, and impossibly heavy. It is spinning. And it is spinning faster than you can possibly imagine. To understand why, think of a figure skater, turning slowly on the ice with her arms held wide. And then she pulls her arms in close to her body, and instantly, without any effort, she spins faster and faster, whirling into a blur. She has not pushed against anything. She has only made herself smaller, and the same spin, gathered into a smaller space, must turn more quickly. It is one of the deep and unbreakable rules of the universe: when a spinning thing shrinks, it must spin faster. The spinning is conserved, it cannot simply vanish, and so, gathered into a smaller space, it has no choice but to quicken. You have felt this yourself, perhaps, spinning as a child with your arms flung wide and then pulling them in, and feeling the world suddenly whirl faster around you. The same rule, exactly, governs the death of stars. Now think of the star. The giant star was spinning slowly, gently, taking perhaps weeks or months to turn once around, as our own sun does. And then its core collapsed, from the size of the Earth down to the size of a city, shrinking by a factor of tens of thousands. And that slow, gentle spin, gathered down into a ball a few miles across, had to become something monstrous. A newborn neutron star can spin hundreds of times every second. Some of them, the fastest, turn around more than 700 times in a single second, 700 full rotations every second, of an object heavier than the sun. The surface of such a star is moving at nearly a quarter of the speed of light. Try to hold that in your mind, a ball heavier than the sun, 20 kilometers wide, whirling around so fast that its edge is moving at 70,000 kilometers a second, and it does this steadily, silently, for millions of years, and it never tires, and it never slows, or only so slowly that you would have to watch for a lifetime to see any change at all. There is a deep comfort in that steadiness, if you let it in. Think of how much in life flickers and stutters and changes, how the days lurch, how moods rise and fall, how nothing seems to hold still. And then think of this, a thing heavier than the sun, turning hundreds of times a second, that has kept exactly that rhythm since before you were born, since before anyone was born, and will keep it for millions of years, without ever once faltering, without ever needing rest, without ever being watched or thanked or noticed. Some things in the universe simply hold. Some rhythms simply keep. And even when everything near you feels uncertain, out there in the dark, quietly, faithfully, the steadiest clocks in creation are turning, and turning, and turning, and they will not stop tonight, and they will not stop tomorrow, and there is a kind of anchor in that, if you want one, something in the universe that absolutely will not waver, holding its beat in the dark, whatever else happens, forever. And here is where the neutron star begins to speak. Because as it spins, it sends out a beam. Most neutron stars have a fierce magnetic field, and that field channels a great beam of radiation out from each of its magnetic poles, two brilliant searchlights of energy, streaming out into space from opposite sides of the star. And if the magnetic poles are tilted from the spinning axis, as they usually are, just as the Earth's magnetic pole is tilted from its true north, then as the star spins, those beams sweep around and around the sky, like the beam of a lighthouse sweeping across the sea. And if, by pure chance, one of those beams happens to sweep across the Earth, then every single time it passes, hundreds of times a second, or once a second, or once every few seconds, depending on the star, we see a pulse. A flash. A tick. Regular, precise, unwavering. A neutron star seen this way has a special name, a pulsar. A pulsing star. A cosmic lighthouse, sweeping its beam across the dark, and ticking, and ticking, and ticking, with a steadiness that shames any clock ever built by human hands. Some pulsars are so regular, so perfectly metronomic, that they keep better time than atomic clocks. You could set the rhythm of your whole life by them. They have been ticking, some of these, for millions of years, and they will go on ticking for millions more, steady as a heartbeat, out there in the dark, whether anyone is listening or not. Imagine that, a clock, wound at the death of a star, that keeps better time than anything we could build, ticking away in the emptiness, unwatched, uncounted, for longer than our whole species has existed. It does not tick for us. It does not tick for anyone. It simply ticks because it turns, and it turns because it must, and it will still be ticking long after every clock on Earth has stopped, long after the last person who ever knew the word pulsar has gone into the dark. There is a vast, patient indifference in it that is, strangely, one of the most restful things I know. The universe is not waiting for us. It is not performing for us. It is just turning, and ticking, and keeping its own time, quietly, forever, and we get to listen for a little while, if we are patient, and then we get to rest, and it goes on ticking without us, and that is exactly as it should be. Let that indifference be a comfort tonight, not a loneliness. You do not have to hold the universe together. You do not have to keep its time, or witness its turning, or do anything at all. It has been running itself perfectly for 13 billion years, and it will run itself perfectly through this night, while you sleep, and be turning still, and ticking still, when you wake. You are free to let go entirely. Nothing depends on your watching. Let that rhythm be soothing to you now. Somewhere out in the galaxy, right now, thousands of these lighthouses are turning, sending their steady beams sweeping through the dark, tick, and tick, and tick, a vast slow orchestra of clocks, all keeping perfect time, all indifferent, all calm. Imagine, for a moment, that you could hear them all the pulsars in the galaxy at once, each one turned into a soft sound, a click, a beat, on its own rhythm. It would not be chaos. It would be something more like rain. Thousands of steady beats, some fast and some slow, some ticking many times a second and some once every few seconds, all overlapping, all patient, all keeping their own perfect time, a vast, soft, layered rhythm filling the whole galaxy, going on, steady and endless, like rain on a roof, like a great slow heartbeat made of 1,000 smaller ones. The Milky Way is full of clocks. It has been ticking, quietly, for billions of years, and it will tick for billions more, and almost none of it is ever heard by anyone. And each of those beats is the same story as the one we watched tonight, a giant that lived, and died, and left behind a small dense spinning heart. Every tick in that galactic rain is a dead star, keeping time over its own grave. It should be somber, perhaps, and yet it is not, it is peaceful, the way an old graveyard on a quiet afternoon is peaceful, full of endings that have long since softened into stillness. The galaxy remembers its dead by their rhythm. It keeps them ticking, gently, in the dark, long after their light is gone. Let your breath fall into that rain of rhythm. You do not need to match any single beat, just let the sense of it hold you, the sense of 1,000 patient clocks all turning at once, none of them hurrying, none of them stopping, all of them content simply to keep time in the dark. Your own heart is one more clock among them tonight, beating slow and steady in your chest, keeping your own quiet time. Let it slow. Let it soften. Let it join the great gentle rhythm of the turning dead, and beat, and rest, and beat, and rest. Let your breathing settle into something like that steadiness. Not the furious speed of it, but the perfect regularity, the sense of something that simply keeps on, faithfully, without effort, without end. And because they keep such perfect time, we have learned to use them. There is something lovely in that the corpses of dead giants have become the most reliable clocks in the universe, and that we lean on them. Because a pulsar's ticking is so steady, a scattering of them across the sky makes something like a natural map. If you knew the exact rhythm of several pulsars, this one ticking so many times a second, that one a little slower, then by listening to them, and noticing how their pulses arrive a fraction early or a fraction late, you could work out exactly where you were, anywhere in the galaxy, with no other landmark at all. They are a set of lighthouses that could guide a ship across the whole Milky Way. On one of the spacecraft we sent out beyond the planets, we engraved a little map, a starburst pattern of lines, each line pointing to a pulsar, each marked with its rhythm, so that if anything, ever, in the deep future, found that craft drifting in the dark, it could read the pulsars like a fingerprint and know exactly where, and when, the craft had come from. A message written in the ticking of dead stars. And we do something quieter and more wonderful with them still. Scattered across the sky are certain very old, very fast, very steady pulsars, the millisecond ones, and astronomers watch a whole array of them at once, listening to all their rhythms together, for years. And they are listening for something almost impossibly faint, for all the pulses, across the whole sky, to shiver ever so slightly in unison, because a gravitational wave, a ripple in space itself, rolling slowly through the galaxy, would stretch and squeeze the space between us and the pulsars, and make their ticks arrive a tiny bit early, then a tiny bit late, in a pattern spread across the heavens. By using dead stars as a set of clocks light years apart, we can feel the whole of space gently breathing. We can hear the slow background hum of the universe, the merging of giant black holes at the hearts of distant galaxies, written in the faint mistiming of the ticking of the dead. It is one of the most patient, delicate things anyone has ever done, to sit and listen, for years, to the corpses of stars, and hear space itself sighing. And time itself runs strangely here, near so much mass. This is the last of the neutron star's quiet marvels, and the gentlest. Where gravity is strong, time runs slow, not as a trick or an illusion, but truly. Close to the surface of a neutron star, a clock would tick noticeably more slowly than a clock far away. If you could hover just above the surface for what felt to you like an hour, and then drift back out to us, you would find that rather more than an hour had passed for the rest of the universe, that you had drifted, a little, into the future. Time pools and slows around heavy things, like a stream slowing where it deepens. The star sits at the bottom of a deep well in time, and everything near it moves through the hours a little more slowly, a little more gently, than everything far away. There is something restful in that thought, too, that time is not the rigid, marching thing we take it for, but something soft and stretchy that slows down where things grow heavy and still. You are growing heavy and still yourself, now, lying here. Let your own time slow with you. Let the minutes stretch and soften and lose their edges. There is no hurry in them. Out here, near the heavy quiet stars, an hour is a gentle and negotiable thing. And now the magnetic field itself, because in some neutron stars, it becomes something beyond all reason. Most neutron stars have magnetic fields already a trillion times stronger than the Earth's. But a rare few, the strangest of all, have fields 1,000 times stronger even than that, the strongest magnetic fields anywhere in the known universe. These are the magnetars. And their power is difficult even to describe. The magnetic field of a magnetar is so strong that it would be lethal from halfway across a solar system. If a magnetar were where our sun is, its field would wipe the data from every card and drive on Earth, from a distance no telescope could even resolve. Come within 1,000 kilometers of one, and its magnetic field would distort the very atoms of your body, stretching them, deforming them, until chemistry itself stopped working and your molecules simply came apart. It does not need to touch you. It does not need gravity. The magnetism alone, from a distance, would unmake you. And every so often, a magnetar trembles. Its crust, that unimaginably rigid shell, is under such stress from the twisting field beneath it that sometimes it cracks, a starquake, a shifting of the surface by perhaps a single millimeter. And that tiny millimeter shift releases, in a fraction of a second, more energy than our sun pours out in 100,000 years. One such flare, from a magnetar thousands of light years away, once swept over the Earth and, from that enormous distance, partly ionized our upper atmosphere in the middle of the night, and it had traveled for tens of thousands of years to reach us. A crack, a millimeter wide, on a star you could walk across in an afternoon, felt across the whole of the galaxy. It is hard even to describe how strong a magnetar's field is, because there is nothing to compare it to. A fridge magnet that holds a photograph to a door is about 100 times the Earth's field. A strong magnet in a hospital scanner, powerful enough to be dangerous, is tens of thousands of times the Earth's. A magnetar is 1,000 trillion times the Earth's field, a number so far beyond the others that they all become, by comparison, essentially nothing. If a magnetar were placed at the distance of the Moon, its field would be strong enough to wipe every magnetic strip and rearrange the atoms in every living thing across the whole face of the Earth. And it does all this while sitting perfectly still, harming no one, a dark quiet sphere the size of a city, tens of thousands of light years away, felt by us only as the occasional faint flicker in our most sensitive instruments. Only a couple of dozen magnetars are known. They are rare, and they do not last. Their monstrous fields decay over just a few thousand years, quickly by cosmic reckoning, until they quieten into ordinary neutron stars. So a magnetar is a brief and violent phase, a young star's tantrum, soon outgrown. Somewhere out in the galaxy right now, a handful of them are seething and cracking and flaring in the dark, the strongest magnets the universe has ever made, and in a few thousand years they will all be calm. Even the fiercest things settle, given a little time. Even the strongest fields fade to quiet. That is the power of neutron stars. That is why we came. And still, from here, in the quiet dark, it is only a small bright point, turning steadily, sending out its faithful beam, calm as a lighthouse on a still night. All that power, held in perfect silence. Let it hold you too. So let us simply drift here a while, in a slow wide orbit around this small fierce star, and rest, and watch it turn. There is nothing we need to do. The star does everything by itself. Round and round it goes, hundreds of times a second, faster than we could ever perceive, and yet, at this distance, it appears perfectly still, a smooth bright bead hanging in the dark, its motion far too fast to see, so that the most furiously spinning object in the universe looks, from here, as calm and motionless as a pearl on black velvet. Only the beam betrays it. Every so often, as the star turns, its lighthouse beam sweeps across us, and there is a soft pulse of light, and then dark again, and then another, a slow flash, if the star is one of the slower ones, once every second or two, gentle as a buoy blinking far out at sea. Let that pulse be a metronome for your breathing. Not the frantic hundreds per second of the star's true spin, that is far too fast for a body, but the slow gentle flash of the beam as it comes round to us. Breathe in as the light swells. Breathe out as it fades. In, as the beam sweeps toward you. Out, as it sweeps away. Let something in the oldest, steadiest clock in the universe set the pace of your own slow breath, and let everything in you gradually slow to match it, your breathing, your heartbeat, your thoughts, all winding gently down toward the deep even rhythm of sleep. The star has been keeping this time since before there were human beings. It kept it all through the rise and fall of every empire, through every life that has ever been lived, through every night anyone has ever slept. It is keeping it now, faithfully, whether anyone watches or not. And it will keep it long after tonight, long after all of us, ticking steadily in the dark, a small patient heartbeat at the center of a fading cloud, marking time for no one, for the pure sake of turning. There is a great and simple peace in that. Something that just keeps on, gently, forever, asking nothing. Let it hold you. Let its steadiness become your steadiness. Let its calm become your calm. And notice how, the longer we drift here, the less strange it becomes. At first it was overwhelming, the density, the gravity, the impossible numbers. But the mind grows used to wonders, given a little time, and now, drifting slowly around it, watching it turn, it begins to feel almost familiar, almost companionable, a small steady presence in the dark, keeping us company, keeping its time. This is how the universe becomes home, not by shrinking to our size, but by our sitting with it, quietly, until the enormous becomes ordinary and the terrifying becomes calm. You could fall asleep beside this star now, I think, the way you might fall asleep beside a fire, or beside the sea, near something vast and powerful and utterly indifferent, and feel, somehow, not small and afraid, but safe, and held, and at peace, rocked by a rhythm far larger and older than yourself. Let us drift a while, quietly, around this steady turning star, and let me tell you how we first came to know that such things existed at all. Because it is one of the loveliest stories in all of science, and it is a fitting one for the dark. For a long time, neutron stars were only an idea. Not long after it was discovered that atoms could be crushed in this way, two astronomers suggested, almost in passing, that a dying star might leave behind a ball of pure neutrons, and then, for 30 years, nobody could find one, and most people assumed such a thing, even if it existed, would be far too small and faint ever to detect. A city-sized star, thousands of light-years away. How could you ever hope to see it? And then, on a cold night in 1967, a young graduate student in Cambridge named Jocelyn Bell was going through the data from a radio telescope she had helped to build, great fields of wire strung across the English countryside, searching the sky for flickering signals. She was reading the data by hand, on long rolls of paper, hundreds of meters of it, ink traces scratched out by pens. And amid all those meters of squiggling lines, she noticed something strange. A little bit of scruff, she called it. A patch of signal that did not look like the others. And when she looked more closely, she found that it was pulsing. Ticking. A radio pulse, arriving from the same patch of sky, over and over, with astonishing regularity, once every 1 1/3 seconds, precise to a fraction of a fraction. Nothing in the heavens was supposed to tick like that. Stars do not blink on a metronome. The regularity was so perfect, so machine-like, that for a little while, and they said this half in jest, and half in genuine wonder, they wondered whether it might be a signal. A beacon. Someone, out there, calling. They labeled the source, quietly, LGM-1. Little Green Men, 1. But it was not little green men. It was a neutron star, the first one ever found, spinning once every 1 1/3 seconds, sweeping its beam across the Earth, ticking out its faithful rhythm across thousands of light-years of dark, exactly as had been predicted decades before. The idea had been real all along. And a young woman reading ink on paper late at night, patient enough to notice a little bit of scruff, had found the densest kind of star in the universe by the faint regular flicker of its light. I love that it was found that way. Not by force, not by some great machine crashing through the dark, but by patience, by someone sitting quietly, paying careful attention, night after night, noticing the small thing that did not fit. The universe gives up its deepest secrets to the patient and the quiet. It always has. And you are being patient and quiet now, lying here in the dark, and the same universe is turning slowly all around you, keeping its faithful time. And it is a hidden universe, mostly. This is a gentle thing to think about as you drift. Almost everything we have learned about neutron stars, we have learned in kinds of light our eyes cannot see. Their beams reach us as radio waves, or as X-rays, or as gamma rays, light too long or too short for the human eye, invisible to us, streaming through the dark all around us all the time, unseen. If you could see in radio light, the night sky would be transformed, the familiar stars would fade, and instead the sky would flicker and pulse with hundreds of steady beacons, ticking away, a whole hidden layer of the heavens that has been there all along, invisible to every eye that has ever looked up. If you could see in X-rays, you would find the sky dotted with the fierce hot points of feeding neutron stars, blazing where the visible sky seems empty. There is a whole universe folded into the light we cannot see, a busy, flickering, luminous cosmos hiding just beyond the edges of our vision, going about its work in silence, all around us, always. And we found it not with our eyes, but with patience, and with instruments, and with quiet attention. The sky you see on a clear night is only the smallest slice of what is actually there. The rest is all around you, right now, passing through you, gentle and unseen. There is something restful in knowing that the universe is far richer and busier than it appears, and that most of its light passes through us softly, harming nothing, asking nothing, a hidden radiance we float in without ever feeling it. And now let me tell you the last great thing that neutron stars do, the strangest and the most beautiful. Because sometimes, they are not alone. Sometimes two stars are born together, circling one another, a pair, and sometimes both of them are giant enough to end as neutron stars. And then you have two neutron stars, two city-sized balls each heavier than the sun, circling one another in the dark. Let us drift out and watch such a pair, for it is one of the most beautiful and patient dances in all the universe. Two neutron stars, two small dark spheres, each heavier than the sun, circling one another in the empty dark. At first they are far apart, and they circle slowly, one full turn every few hours, then every hour, gliding around a shared center, two heavy points wheeling in the black, having done so already for millions upon millions of years. And they are drawing closer, so gradually that across a human lifetime you would see no change at all. For 100 million years they circle, imperceptibly tightening, giving up their energy to the space around them a whisper at a time. This is the long, patient middle of it, the vast, slow, almost eternal courtship of two dead stars, wheeling in the dark, coming together over spans of time that dwarf the whole history of life on Earth. And as they circle, they do something remarkable, they stir the very fabric of space. Their immense masses, whirling around each other, send out ripples through space itself, gravitational waves, spreading outward at the speed of light, carrying energy away. And as they lose that energy, the two stars spiral slowly inward, closer and closer, over millions of years, circling faster as they fall, until in the final moments they are whirling around each other hundreds of times a second, and then they touch. They merge. And two of the densest objects in the universe slam together and become one. And in that instant, the universe makes gold. The collision is so violent, so extreme, that a spray of neutron-rich matter is flung out into space, and in that spray, in a fraction of a second, the heaviest elements are forged, gold, and platinum, and the rare earths, and uranium. Elements that cannot be made even in the heart of an ordinary star, cannot be made in an ordinary supernova, can be made only here, in the smashing together of two neutron stars. A single such collision can forge many times the mass of the Earth in pure gold, and fling it out into the dark. And it glows, As it flies, a soft and fading light called a kilonova, and then it drifts, for billions of years, and gathers into clouds, and into new stars, and new worlds. And this is not a distant abstraction. This is your wedding ring. This is the gold in every ring and every coin and every circuit on Earth. Every atom of gold that has ever been held or worn or treasured by any human being was made in the collision of two neutron stars, somewhere out in the dark, long before the Earth existed, flung out into space, drifted for ages, and gathered up into our world at its making. When you hold something gold, you are holding the light of a kilonova, frozen. You are holding a piece of a collision between two dead stars. It changes the way you might look at a wedding ring, or an old coin, or the gold thread in some treasured thing. Every scrap of it is older than the Earth. Every scrap of it was made in an instant of unimaginable violence, two neutron stars falling together after 100 million years of circling, and then flung out into the dark to drift for billions of years before the sun was even a cloud. The most precious, most peaceful, most treasured metal we have, the one we give as a promise, the one we press into rings and pass down through families, was born in the most extreme collision the universe can stage. There is a whole story of fire and patience and unthinkable distance folded into the smallest band of gold, and almost no one who wears it ever knows. You know now. And it is a soft and lovely thing to carry off toward sleep, that the gentlest tokens we own were forged in the fiercest furnaces there are, long ago, far away, and given time, cooled into something we can hold. And we can hear these collisions now. In 2017, for the first time, we felt the ripples in space from two neutron stars merging, the fabric of the universe itself stretching and squeezing by less than the width of an atomic nucleus as the waves washed over the Earth, and at the very same time, telescopes caught the glow of the kilonova, in a galaxy 130 million light-years away. We felt it, and we saw it, together. Two dead stars, colliding before there were dinosaurs, and we heard the sound of it in our instruments, and watched the gold being born. Sit with that a moment, because it is one of the tenderest things human beings have ever done. Two neutron stars, in a galaxy so far away that its light takes 130 million years to reach us, spiraled together and merged, and the ripple they sent through the fabric of space itself spread outward, and crossed all that dark for 130 million years, and washed over the Earth on an August day, and in two great instruments, kilometers long, the length of space stretched and squeezed by less than 1,000th of the width of a single proton, a change so small. It seems impossible anything could measure it, and we measured it. We felt space itself shiver from a collision older than the dinosaurs. And knowing where to look, telescopes swung around, and found the fading glow of the kilonova, the light of the newborn gold, in a galaxy no one had been watching. For the first time in history, we felt a thing in the ripples of space and saw it with light, at once, the same event, confirmed two ways. Two dead stars touched, long ago and far away, and a soft warm species on a small blue world was patient enough, and clever enough, and gentle enough, to feel it. There is more hope in that, I think, than in almost anything. That we can feel a whisper in space from a collision beyond imagining, beyond time, and know it for what it is. We are small, and soft, and brief, but we pay attention, and the universe, in its vast slow way, lets us listen. And you are listening now, in your own quiet way, drifting here in the dark, letting the far and gentle things come to you. Let us drift back, now, to our own quiet neutron star, turning steadily in the dark, and let us think of all its strange cousins scattered through the galaxy, for there is a whole zoo of these creatures, and no two are quite alike. There are the young, fast pulsars, freshly born from supernovae, spinning dozens of times a second, still wrapped in the glowing wreckage of the stars that made them. There is one at the heart of the Crab Nebula, born from a supernova that Chinese astronomers watched blaze in the daytime sky nearly 1,000 years ago, in the year 1054, they wrote it down, a guest star, bright for weeks, and at the center of that expanding cloud, still, tonight, a neutron star spins 30 times a second, pouring out energy, lighting up the whole nebula around it. People saw that star die 1,000 years ago. Its corpse is still turning. And it is not a quiet corpse. The Crab pulsar spins 30 times every second, and it is one of the most energetic things in this whole region of the galaxy. It pours out, every second, tens of thousands of times the energy our sun gives off, not as gentle sunlight but as fierce radiation and as a wind of particles streaming out at nearly the speed of light. That wind slams into the surrounding cloud and lights the whole vast nebula from within, making it glow, weaving it into shifting ripples and wisps that actually change from month to month, fast enough that patient watchers can see the nebula stir. 1,000 years after the explosion, the small dead heart at its center is still feeding light into the wreckage, still stirring it, still keeping it glowing, a grave that will not go dark, tended by the very thing that died. And this is happening at the center of every young supernova remnant, a small furious survivor, pouring out its energy, lighting its own tomb from the inside. There is something almost tender in it, if you let there be, that the death of a star leaves behind not silence, but a small bright keeper, turning faithfully at the heart of the ruins, holding a light in the dark for 1,000 years, or 10,000, long after anyone who saw the star die has themselves gone into the dark. The universe does not forget its great deaths quickly. It sets a small turning lantern at the center of each one, and lets it burn. And that guest star of 1054 was not the only one that people saw and wrote down. Across the long centuries, a handful of times, a supernova has blazed close enough and bright enough for human beings to witness a star dying with their own eyes, and it is worth remembering them, quietly, these few recorded deaths, because each one left behind a small turning corpse that is out there still. The astronomers of the Song dynasty in China, in that year 1054, watched the guest star in the constellation we call Taurus grow bright enough to see in daylight for 23 days, and to shine in the night for nearly 2 years before it faded, and they recorded it carefully, its position, its color, its slow dimming. They did not know they were watching a star tear itself apart. They could not have known that at the center of that fading light a city-sized ball of neutrons was beginning to spin. But because they wrote it down, we can look tonight at the Crab Nebula, still expanding, still glowing, and know precisely how old it is, and watch its pulsar turning 30 times a second, and connect it back across 1,000 years to a scribe with a brush, noting a new light in the sky. 5 centuries later, in 1572, a bright new star appeared in the constellation of Cassiopeia, and the astronomer Tycho Brahe watched it and measured it and wrote a small book about it, and it shook the world of his time, because everyone then believed the heavens were perfect and unchanging, and here was a new star, appearing where none had been. It challenged the idea that the sky was fixed and eternal. Its remains are still out there too, a shell of glowing gas, expanding. And barely a generation after that, in 1604, another appeared, watched by Kepler, the last supernova seen with the naked eye in our own galaxy, 400 years ago and more. We are, in truth, overdue for another. Somewhere in the Milky Way, a giant is surely close to the end, and one night, tonight, or in 1,000 years, a new star will blaze in someone's sky, brighter than all the rest, and if we are lucky it will be near enough to watch the whole thing unfold. And once, in our own time, we very nearly did. In 1987, in a small companion galaxy just beside our own, a supergiant died, and its light reached Earth, and for the first time in centuries a supernova was bright enough to see without a telescope. And hours before its light arrived, deep underground, our detectors caught a faint whisper of neutrinos, those ghostly particles pouring out of the collapsing core, passing through the whole Earth as though it were not there. We felt the very moment of the collapse, the instant the core fell and the neutron star was born, before we ever saw the flash. For a few seconds, On a quiet day, a handful of machines on Earth trembled with the death of a star 160,000 years and 160,000 light-years away. That is how connected we are to these distant deaths. That is how far the news travels. There are the old, slow pulsars, their spin gradually wound down over millions of years, ticking now just once every several seconds, fading, quieting, drifting toward the long silence. And then there are the strangest of all, the recycled pulsars, the ones that were old and slow and nearly dead, and then were given a second life. If an old neutron star has a companion, an ordinary star still living, it can pull a stream of gas off that companion, and as the gas spirals down onto the neutron star it spins it up again, faster and faster, like a child pushed on a swing, until the ancient dead star is whirling once more, hundreds of times a second, the fastest of all, spun back to life by the slow gift of a dying companion. They call them millisecond pulsars, and some of them are older than the sun, and still turning, faster than a kitchen blender, out in the dark. There is something tender in that story, if you sit with it, an old, exhausted star, its spin nearly wound down to stillness, given a second life by a companion that is itself slowly dying, pouring its own substance across the gap. The one gives, and the other quickens, and the ancient dead star turns young and fast again on the gift. And these recycled stars are the very steadiest of all the pulsars, the most precise clocks in the universe, spun up so smoothly and turning so freely that they will keep near perfect time for billions of years more. Out of an ending, and a gift, and a slow falling of matter across the dark, comes the most reliable rhythm in all of creation. Even among the dead, there are second chances. Even the nearly stopped can be set turning again. And there are the feeding ones, the neutron stars that live beside a still-living companion star, close enough to steal. These are among the most dramatic objects in the whole galaxy, and yet, from a distance, they too are calm. Picture it, an ordinary star, living its life, and beside it, circling close, a small dark neutron star. And the neutron star's gravity is so fierce that it pulls a long stream of gas off the surface of its companion, draws it away in a bright spiraling ribbon. But the gas cannot fall straight in, the whole system is spinning, and so the stolen gas gathers into a flat whirling disk around the neutron star, spiraling inward, faster and faster, hotter and hotter. And by the time that gas reaches the neutron star's surface, it has fallen through that 100 billion-fold gravity, and it is moving at a fair fraction of the speed of light, and it slams down and is crushed and heated to millions of degrees, so hot that it shines, not in ordinary light, but in X-rays, blazing out into space. Some of these feeding neutron stars are the brightest X-ray sources in the entire sky. And sometimes the stolen gas piles up on the surface until it ignites all at once in a colossal thermonuclear flash, a burst that, for a few seconds, outshines the star 100,000 times, a bomb the size of a continent detonating on the surface of a dead star. These bursts flicker across our X-ray telescopes, again and again, from all over the galaxy, the quiet, endless drama of the dead feeding on the living. And yet even this, even a star tearing the flesh off its neighbor and burning it in continent-sized nuclear fire, happens in total silence, far away, as a small steady point of light. Everything out here, no matter how violent, becomes gentle at a distance. That is the mercy of space. The most terrible things, seen from far enough away, are only quiet lights, turning in the dark. And there are the quiet ones, the vast majority, the neutron stars with no beam pointed our way, or no beam left at all, drifting dark and cold and unseen through the galaxy. There may be 100 million of them in the Milky Way alone. 100 million dead stars, most of them invisible, most of them silent, drifting between the living stars, each one a city-sized ball of the densest matter in the universe, each one the tombstone of a giant that blazed and died before we were born. You have never seen them. You never will. But they are out there, all around, all through the galaxy, turning quietly in the dark. Think of that as you lie here, 100 million of them, in our galaxy alone. That is more than 1 for every 10 of the living stars you can see. Scattered everywhere, between the bright suns, drifting along on their own slow orbit around the galaxy, most of them cold and dark and silent now, their beams long since faded or never pointed our way. The nearest one to Earth may be only a few hundred light-years off, close, by cosmic reckoning, a near neighbor. We cannot see it. It gives off almost no light we can catch. But it is there, a city-sized ball of the densest matter in creation, turning in the dark, closer to us than most of the stars we have names for. The galaxy is haunted, in the gentlest possible way, full of the quiet dead, drifting among the living, harming nothing, wanting nothing, simply turning in the dark where they have turned for millions of years. And it is not a frightening thought, not really. It is a peaceful one. The dead stars keep to themselves. They ask nothing. They drift, and turn, and cool, and keep their faithful time, and let the living galaxy shine on around them. There is room enough for all of them, the quick and the dead, in the great dark house of the Milky Way. And there is room enough, tonight, for you to rest among them, warm and small and living, while they keep their long quiet watch far away. And here is the thought I want to leave you with, as we begin to turn for home. Every one of these stars, the giant that died, the supernova that scattered its guts across the dark, the neutron star left turning at the center, every one of them was a factory. In its life, and in its death, it forged the elements. The iron in the star's dead core. The oxygen it burned. The gold and silver flung out in its collision. And all of it was thrown out into space, to drift, and gather, and become new things. The iron in your blood, right now, carrying the oxygen through your body as you lie there breathing, that iron was made in the heart of a massive star, and flung into space by a supernova, long before the sun was born. The calcium in your bones was made the same way. The gold you may be wearing was forged in a neutron star collision. You are not separate from these violent, distant, impossible things. You are made of them. You are the quiet, gentle, living afterlife of stars that died in fire billions of years ago. The most violent objects in the universe made the stuff that became you, and then that stuff came to rest, and cooled, and gathered, and softened, and one arrangement of it became a warm body lying in a quiet bed on a small blue world, able to close its eyes and imagine the very stars that forged it. From fire to stillness. From the death of giants to a person resting, drifting towards sleep. That is the journey every atom in you has already made. Tonight, you are only doing again what your atoms have done since the beginning, coming to rest in the dark after a very long journey. And what becomes of them in the very end? Let us drift forward, gently, into the deep future, and see how the story finishes, because it finishes softly, the way everything out here finishes softly, in cooling and quiet and rest. A neutron star is born blazingly hot, 1 trillion degrees at its birth, far hotter than the heart of any ordinary star. But it has no fire inside it, the fusion is over, it makes no new heat. And so, from the moment it is born, it does nothing but cool, slowly, slowly, radiating its warmth away into the dark. For the first thousands of years it cools quickly, glowing in X-rays. Then more slowly, over millions of years, fading to a dull warmth. And it goes on cooling, across billions, and then trillions of years, growing colder, and dimmer, and quieter, its spin winding gradually down, its beam guttering out, until at last it becomes what they call, softly, a black dwarf of neutrons, a cold, dark, dead sphere, no longer ticking, no longer glowing, no longer anything but a small heavy silence, drifting through a galaxy that has itself grown old and dark around it. But this takes so long, so unimaginably long, that not a single neutron star anywhere in the universe has yet had time to fully cool. The universe is not old enough. Every neutron star that has ever formed, in all of cosmic history, is still warm. The oldest ones, born not long after the first stars, are still faintly glowing, still turning, 13 billion years later. The full cooling lies far, far ahead, in a future so distant that the number of years has more zeros than there are stars in the sky. These stars keep their warmth almost forever. They are the most patient embers in all of creation. And there is something deeply peaceful in that the fiercest things the universe makes end not in another explosion, but in this, a slow, gentle, endless cooling, a warmth given up so gradually that the whole present age of the universe is not enough to finish it. Even the most violent stars, in the end, simply grow quiet, and cool, and rest, over spans of time so vast they may as well be forever. Everything is winding down, softly, toward stillness. Everything is being tucked in for a very long night. And there is no hurry in any of it, none at all. So let us begin the long, slow drift home. Let us turn away from the small bright turning star, and let it grow smaller behind us, still ticking, still faithful, still keeping its perfect time out in the dark, as it will for millions of years after this night is forgotten. We do not need to stay and watch it. It does not need us to watch. It will keep turning just the same. Drift back, now, through the last thin wisps of the old supernova cloud, out into the open dark between the stars. And let everything you have seen begin to soften behind you, the dying giant, the terrible collapse, the impossible weight, the sweeping beam, the colliding pair and the gold flung out into the night. Let it all grow gentle and dim, the way the details of a dream soften when you stop trying to hold them. You do not need to keep any of it. It happened. It was enough to have seen it. Let us pause here, once more, drifting in our slow wide orbit, and simply sit with this small impossible star a little longer before we go. There is no hurry to leave. It has waited millions of years, it can hold us a few minutes more. Consider, gently, what we are looking at, for it holds nearly every superlative there is, all gathered into one small quiet sphere. It is the densest thing in the universe short of a black hole, a spoonful of it outweighs a mountain. It has the strongest gravity of anything with a surface you could, in principle, stand upon, 100 billion times the Earth's. It spins faster than any other large object in existence, its edge racing at a quarter the speed of light, hundreds of turns a second. The magnetars among its kind carry the strongest magnetic fields anywhere in nature, fields that would unmake your atoms from 1,000 kilometers away. It is born from the brightest single explosion the cosmos knows how to make. Its surface begins at a temperature of 1 trillion degrees. Its crust is the strongest material that exists, 10 billion times stronger than steel. And at its heart lies a state of matter so extreme that we have no name for it and no way to ever make it. The densest, the strongest, the fastest, the most magnetic. Nearly every extreme the universe is capable of, all of it, in a single object the size of a small city, turning silently in the dark in front of us. If you wanted to see the outer limits of what is physically possible, the very edges of what matter and gravity and energy can do, you would come here. This is where the universe pushes everything as far as it can go before it gives up entirely and collapses into a black hole. A neutron star is the last thing standing at the edge of the possible. For there is a limit. A neutron star can only hold so much. The pressure of all those packed neutrons, refusing to be squeezed, can hold up about 2 suns worth of mass, perhaps a little more, but no further. If a neutron star grows any heavier than that, if a little too much matter falls onto it, or if the collapsing core was simply too large to begin with, then even the fierce refusal of the neutrons is not enough, and gravity wins completely, and the star collapses again, down past the neutron star density, down past every limit, down to a point, and vanishes behind a horizon of dark from which not even light can climb. A black hole. The neutron star is the very last thing that stands between an ordinary star and that final darkness, the last state of matter that still has a surface, that still has a shape, that is still, in some sense, a thing you could see. One step further, one small pinch more of mass, and there would be nothing to see at all. So this small bright turning sphere is balanced, in a way, on the very edge, the heaviest, densest thing the universe can make that is still a thing. It sits right at the doorway to the dark, and does not go through. There is something almost brave about that, if you let there be a thing holding itself up, just barely, at the very edge of collapse, and holding, for millions of years, refusing the final fall. But you do not need to make it brave. It is only physics, only balance, only the quiet stubbornness of matter at the edge of what is possible. And it is beautiful, and it is safe, and it is far away, and it holds. And yet, hold this gently alongside all of that, it is silent. It is small. It is calm. From here, it is a soft bright bead, turning quietly, harming nothing, disturbing nothing, keeping its faithful time. All those superlatives, all that impossible power, wrapped up and held in perfect stillness, doing no harm to anyone, simply being what it is, out in the quiet dark. There is a deep lesson in that, I think, if you want one, that the most powerful things need not be loud, and that great force and great stillness can live in the very same place. But you do not need a lesson tonight. You need only to look at it, and marvel, and rest. And here is the thought to carry home, the one that ties this fierce distant thing to the warm, soft body lying in the bed. You are related to it. Not poetically, actually, physically, by direct descent. The iron in your blood, the iron that is carrying oxygen through your body in this very moment as you breathe slowly in the dark, was forged in the heart of a massive star and scattered across space by a supernova exactly like the one we watched tonight, long before the sun was born. The calcium in your bones, the same. And the trace of gold that may be resting on your finger or at your throat was made, we now know beyond doubt, in the collision of two neutron stars, two small dark spheres slamming together somewhere in the dark billions of years ago, flinging out a spray of gold that drifted for an age and gathered into our world at its making. You are not a spectator to these violent distant things. You are their descendant. You are what became of them, once they had cooled, and gathered, and softened, and grown quiet. The fire ran its course, and the giants died, and the elements scattered, and drifted, and settled, and one small handful of that scattered stardust came together, on one small world, into something that could breathe, and feel warm, and grow tired, and close its eyes, and picture the very stars that made it. From the death of giants, to a person, resting. From the most violent thing in the universe, to the gentlest. That is the whole long journey of your atoms, and tonight, lying here, you are simply doing again what they have always done in the end, coming to rest, in the dark, and growing still. And think, last of all, how improbable it is that we know any of this at all. That a soft warm creature on a small blue world, who has never left its own solar system, who could not survive a single instant anywhere near one of these stars, has nonetheless worked out their density, their spin, their magnetism, the pasta in their crust, the gold in their collisions, the ripples they send through space, all of it, from faint light and fainter signals, gathered patiently, over a single human lifetime or two, by people sitting quietly in the dark, paying attention. We came to know the fiercest things in the universe not by force, but by patience. By looking. By listening. By lying quietly beneath the sky and wondering what the little flickers meant. You are doing the same thing now, in your own small way. Lying quietly in the dark. Letting the universe come to you. paying gentle attention as it turns. It is the oldest and the best way to meet the cosmos, not to conquer it, but to rest beneath it, and wonder, and let it carry you. And it is carrying you now, gently, towards sleep. We drift home now, across the quiet dark between the stars, in no hurry at all. The neutron star is a faint point behind us, then gone. The stars of our own neighborhood drift slowly past, ordinary stars, gentle stars, none of them fierce, none of them dying tonight. Our own sun grows out of the dark ahead, small and yellow and warm and faithful, and it will not end as a neutron star. It is far too gentle, too modest. It will simply swell, one distant day, and let its outer layers drift away, and settle into a small warm ember, and cool, quietly, over ages. There is no violence waiting for our sun. It will go softly. Most stars do. Let the drift home be long and slow and unhurried. There is no rush. We crossed a great emptiness to get here, and we will cross it again going back, and every mile of it is a mile deeper into rest. The neutron star is behind us now, a faint flicker growing fainter, and then, at last, lost among the ordinary stars, indistinguishable, from far enough away, from any other point of light, its terrible power hidden once more inside a tiny gleam. That is how it is with everything out here. The most extraordinary things, seen from far enough off, become quiet and small and ordinary, just another light in the dark. And there is something restful in that too, that distance is a kind of peace, that stepping back far enough makes even the fiercest things gentle. We drift on, through the quiet dark between the stars, and the ordinary stars slide slowly past us, gentle stars, most of them, small and modest and long-lived, stars like our own that will never die in fire, that will simply burn low and cool and fade over unimaginable ages. For all the drama of the giants, they are rare. The great majority of stars are quiet ones, patient ones, the small red and yellow embers that live for billions and trillions of years and end without violence. The universe is not mostly explosions. It is mostly slow, warm, patient burning, and long quiet cooling, and rest. The neutron star we visited is the exception, not the rule, a rare and violent punctuation in a cosmos that is, on the whole, astonishingly calm. Let that settle you as we drift. The sky is not a battlefield. It only has a few battles in it, scattered very far apart, and between them, vast oceans of gentle quiet, and slow soft light, and stars minding their own business for ages upon ages. We went to see one of the rare fierce things, and now we are drifting home through the ordinary calm, and the ordinary calm is most of everything there is. And there, ahead, small and yellow and warm, our own star. Our sun faithful, modest, unremarkable, and the most precious light in all the sky to us, because it is ours, and because it is gentle, and because it will never do to us what the giant did. It will hold us, and warm us, and light our days, for billions of years yet, and then it will go softly, without violence, into a long slow quiet. We drift toward it, and it grows, and it is the most welcome sight in the universe, an ordinary star, that means home. Down toward the small blue world, turning where we left it. Down through the thin blue shell of air. And how gentle it is, coming home to this soft blue world after where we have been. There is no crushing gravity here, just enough to hold you kindly in your bed, to settle the covers over you, to keep your feet on the ground and no more. There is no killing magnetic field, no beam of radiation, no surface that annihilates whatever touches it. There is only air, and warmth, and water, and soft green things growing, and quiet, and safety. After the neutron star, the ordinary tenderness of the earth feels almost miraculous, this rare, mild, forgiving little world, where a thing as soft as a body can exist at all, where you can lie down in the open and simply rest, and nothing crushes you, and nothing burns you, and the worst the night brings is a little cold, easily kept off by a blanket. We do not often notice how gentle our world is, because it is all we have ever known. But go to a neutron star, even in the mind, even for an hour, and come home, and you feel it, how astonishingly, improbably kind this place is. A world that lets you be soft. A world that holds you gently enough to sleep. Let that gentleness rise up to meet you now as we come down through the dark toward home, the plain, enormous, everyday mercy of a world where rest is possible. Down through the quiet clouds, through the dark of the night side, down toward one sleeping country, one town, one roof, one room. And down, gently, into your own body, lying just where it has lain all along, warm, and heavy, and safe, breathing slowly, held by the soft and faithful earth. You are home. You went to the most violent place in the universe tonight, and you watched a star die and become something impossible, and you came back, and your body never moved at all. It only rested here, and breathed, and grew heavier, while the mind wandered out among the dead stars and came home again. That is the great gift of a night like this, that you can travel to the very edge of what exists, to the densest, fiercest, most extreme thing in all of creation, and never once leave the warmth of your own bed. The body stays, safe and still, held by the soft earth, while the mind drifts out across the light years and looks at wonders and comes softly home. No danger ever touched you. No cold, no crushing weight, no fierce field, nothing. You were safe the whole time, here, in the dark, breathing slowly, and the journey cost you nothing but a little wondering. And now the wondering is done, and the mind is home, and body and mind are together again, quiet, in the warm dark, with nothing left to do but sleep. Feel how good it is to be back. Feel the ordinary miracle of a soft bed, a warm room, a gentle world, a body that can rest. After everything out there, this small warm place is the most precious thing in the universe, and it is yours, tonight, entirely, for sleeping in. Let the warmth of it settle all the way through you. The warmth of the covers. The warmth of your own slow blood, carrying its star-forged iron quietly through you. The warmth of a body that is alive, and safe, and tired in the good way, at the end of a long day, ready for rest. Out there, everything is either unimaginably hot or unimaginably cold, a trillion degrees at the surface of a newborn neutron star, or the deep cold of the space between the stars, a whisper above absolute zero. But here, in this narrow, precious band of warmth that life needs, everything is soft, and mild, and just right. You live in the one gentle temperature the universe allows, in the one gentle place, on the one gentle world, and tonight you get to rest in it, wrapped in warmth, held by gravity, breathing sweet air, while the fierce hot and the bitter cold keep to themselves far away in the dark. There is nowhere better to be than exactly here. There is nothing better to do than exactly this. Rest now, in the warmth, in the safety, in the soft gentle dark, and let it all be enough, because it is enough, it is more than enough, it is everything. Feel that weight now. Feel how heavy and how peaceful your body has become. Let it grow heavier still. Let your body grow heavy now, from the crown of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes, and let the softness spread through you like slow warm water. Let your forehead smooth, and soften, every small tension leaving it. Let your eyes rest heavy behind their lids. Let your jaw loosen, and your shoulders fall away from your ears, sinking down into the bed. Let the heaviness pour slowly down through your arms, through your elbows, your wrists, your hands, all the way to the very tips of your fingers, until your arms lie heavy and warm and utterly still. Feel your chest rise and fall, softly, all on its own, needing nothing from you. Let your back settle and spread into the bed. Let your hips grow heavy, and your legs, and your knees, and your calves, and your ankles, and your feet, all the way to the tips of your toes. Your whole body heavy now, Your whole body still. Your whole body held, safe and warm, on a small blue world, in a quiet galaxy full of turning dead stars, none of which can ever reach you, none of which will ever trouble you, all of them keeping their faithful time far, far away in the gentle dark. Let your breathing grow slower now, and softer, and deeper. Notice it, gently, without changing it, the slow rise as the breath comes in, the long soft fall as it goes out. In. And out. Like a slow tide. Like the sweep of a distant beam, coming round, and going away, and coming round again. Each breath a little slower than the last. Each one carrying a little more of the day away with it, out into the dark, where it dissolves and is gone. And with each breath out, let a little more of you soften. Your face, softening. Your hands, softening. Your whole body growing warmer and heavier and more still, sinking a little further into the bed, as though the bed were slowly, gently taking your weight from you, holding all of it, so that you have nothing left to hold up at all, not your body, not the day, not a single thought. It is all being held for you now. You can let go of every last bit of it. There is nothing left that you must carry. Let your breath slow a little more. In, gently, without effort. And out, long and soft and slow. And feel, with each breath out, how you sink, not falling, but settling, the way a feather settles, the way snow settles, the way everything in the universe eventually settles, coming softly to rest. The giants settle into neutron stars. The neutron stars settle into cold dark spheres. The galaxies settle, over ages, into quiet. Everything, everywhere, is drifting slowly toward rest, and tonight you are simply doing the same, settling, softening, coming to rest, at the natural end of a long day, exactly as the whole universe does at the end of its long ages. There is no effort in it. There never was. Resting is the most natural thing there is, it is what everything does when it is finally allowed to stop. So let yourself stop now. Let yourself settle. Let the last of the holding fall away, and let the bed take you, and let the dark take you, and let sleep take you, softly, in its own good time. And far above the roof, beyond the thin blue air, the great universe keeps its watch, exactly as it always has. The sun burns faithfully on the far side of the world, waiting for the morning. The moon drifts slowly across the sky, lifting the quiet tides. And out in the dark, 100 million neutron stars are turning, steadily, silently, sweeping their beams across the emptiness, ticking out their perfect time, tick, and tick, and tick, a vast slow clockwork, keeping the hours of the galaxy, asking nothing of you, needing nothing from you, content to turn all night while you sleep. There is nothing you must do. There is nowhere you must be. The whole vast cosmos is turning without your help, keeping perfect time without your watching, and it will still be turning, and still keeping time, in the morning. You may set every thought down now, the way you would set down a heavy pack at the end of a long day. Set it down. You will not need it tonight. Breathe in, slowly. And breathe out. And with every breath out, sink a little deeper, a little heavier, a little further down into the warm and quiet dark, like a small stone settling softly to the floor of a still and peaceful sea, drifting down through the calm water, in no hurry at all, until it comes to rest at last on the soft sand at the bottom, and lies there, easy, and still, and at peace. Let us go through the body once more, slowly, and let each part of you set itself down, the way the gas settles softly onto the surface of the star and becomes still. Your forehead. Let it be smooth, and wide, and untroubled. Let every small thought loosen its grip and drift away. There is nothing to work out now. Nothing to hold. Your eyes, resting heavy and quiet behind their lids, gone still after the long day of looking. Let them be soft. Let them sink. Your jaw unclenching, your teeth parting slightly, your tongue soft in your mouth. So much is carried there without our knowing. Let it all go loose. Your throat, your neck, your shoulders, dropping, widening, sinking away from your ears, down into the bed, growing heavy and warm. Your arms, from shoulder to fingertip, filling slowly with warm heaviness, like something poured. Your elbows heavy. Your wrists heavy. Your hands open and still. Every finger let go. Your chest, rising and falling, gently, all on its own, in no hurry, needing nothing from you. Your belly soft and warm. Your back releasing into the bed, one small muscle at a time, spreading, settling, sinking. Your hips, heavy. Your legs, long and loose and warm. Your knees, your calves, your ankles, all letting go. And your feet, all the way to the very tips of your toes, heavy and warm and utterly at rest. Your whole body now, from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes, heavy and warm and still and held. Nothing to do. Nothing to carry. Nowhere to be. And let the pictures come back one last time, softly, blurred at the edges, the way things come in a dream and not the way they come when you try to see them. The great blue giant, blazing in the dark, so beautiful, so doomed. The core, falling, a world crushed to a city in the time it takes to blink. The silent white blaze of the supernova, brighter than a galaxy, spreading into a soft glowing cloud. The small dark survivor at its heart, a city that weighs more than the sun, smooth as still water, spinning in the dark. The beam, sweeping round and round, flashing softly across the emptiness, tick and tick and tick. The gold, born in a collision, flung glowing into the night. 100 million dead stars, drifting quietly through the galaxy, keeping their faithful time. Let them all go now. Let them soften and fade and drift away into the warm dark behind your eyes. You do not need to keep a single one. They will keep turning without you. They always have. There is nothing left to do now but drift. So let us drift together, one last gentle while, through the soft dark, letting go a little more with every breath. If a thought should rise, let it drift away like a faint pulse fading in the distance, growing dimmer, and slower, and quieter, until it fades into the dark and is gone. You need not follow it. Let it go, and let yourself sink softly down. There is nowhere your thoughts need to go tonight, and nothing they need to solve. Whatever they reach for, let them loosen their grip on it, and let it drift off into the dark, the way the supernova let go of its outer layers, the way the dying star let go of everything it had made and flung it gently into space. Letting go is not losing. It is what the whole universe does, in the end, with everything. It opens its hands, and lets things drift, and the things it lets go of become new things elsewhere, softly, in their own time. So open your hands too. Let the day drift out of them. Let the thoughts drift out of them. Let even the wondering drift away now, gently, into the warm dark, and keep nothing back, and hold nothing, and simply sink. Down and down, into the soft dark, in no hurry at all. Each breath a little slower. Each moment a little further from the day. Nothing to hold. Nothing to do. Nowhere to be but here, in the warm dark, drifting softly down toward sleep. Let the darkness be kind to you. There is nothing in it to fear. All the violence of the universe is far away, held safely in small bright turning spheres millions of light years off, and here there is only the warm bed, and the slow breath, and the deep gentle dark, and sleep, rising up to meet you softly, the way the tide rises to meet the shore. Let it take you. Let it carry you down. There is no distance left to cross tonight. No star left to reach. No collapse left to witness. You have been to the edge of what is possible and come home to the softest place there is, and there is nothing left to do but rest. Let your thoughts slow, and thin, and drift apart, like the last wisps of a cloud coming undone in a still sky, until there is only clear dark, and quiet, and the slow soft sound of your own breathing. If you are still a little awake, do not mind it. Sleep is already near. You can feel it, perhaps, at the edges, the way the room has softened, the way your body has grown distant and heavy, the way your thoughts have begun to wander and blur. That is sleep, coming for you, in its own gentle time. You do not have to reach for it. You only have to keep drifting, and let it close over you when it is ready, the way the dark closes softly over a star as it sinks below the horizon. Drift now. Sink now. Down through the soft quiet dark, gently, in no hurry at all. And if you are still awake, that is perfectly all right. There is no need to hurry toward sleep. It comes on its own, when it is ready, the way the tide comes in, not because anyone calls it, but simply because it is time. So do not wait for it, and do not reach for it. Just drift, and let it find you. Let each breath out be a little longer, a little slower, than the one before. Not forced. Only allowed. Breathe in, gently, and let it go, and feel your body sink another small amount into the bed, as though you were settling, very slowly, through something warm and soft and endless, with no bottom to reach and no hurry to reach it. And again. In. And out. And down. Let your mind grow as quiet and as spacious as the dark between the stars. There is so much room out there. Light years of it, in every direction, with almost nothing in it at all, just the soft dark, and here and there a small steady light, turning. Let your mind be like that. Not empty in a cold way, but empty in a restful way, with plenty of room in it, and nothing that needs to happen, and no one asking anything of you. If a thought drifts in, let it be one of those small distant lights, far away, quiet, turning on its own, no concern of yours. You do not have to go to it. You do not have to do anything about it. Let it drift slowly past, and grow dim, and fall behind you into the dark, and be gone. And think, if you like, of the vast gentle machinery of it all, turning quietly while you rest. Somewhere, right now, a giant star is reaching the end of its fuel, layering iron in its heart, coming to its quiet end. Somewhere a core is falling. Somewhere a supernova is blazing, silently, brighter than a galaxy, watched by no one. Somewhere two dead stars are spiraling together, whirling faster and faster toward the moment they touch. Somewhere gold is being born and flung into the dark. Somewhere a beam is sweeping across an empty sea of space and finding nothing, and sweeping on. And somewhere, everywhere, 100 million cold quiet neutron stars are turning, steadily, keeping the time of the galaxy, needing nothing, wanting nothing, simply turning, in the dark, forever. And none of it needs you. That is the gift of it. Not one particle of that vast turning machinery requires your attention, or your worry, or your effort. It ran for billions of years before you, and it will run for billions after, and tonight it asks only that you rest, and let it turn, and be carried along, warm and safe, on a small blue world, under a roof, in a bed, in the dark. You are the softest thing in all of it. In a universe of crushing weight and impossible fire and fields that could unmake atoms, you are a warm, soft, breathing body, resting in a quiet room. And that softness is not a weakness. It is the rarest and most precious thing the universe has managed to make. All that violence, all that fire, all those dead turning stars, and out of them, somehow, came this, something gentle enough to feel tired, and safe enough to sleep. You are what the fire was for. You are where it was all going. Think of the long, long road your atoms have traveled to become this quiet resting body. The hydrogen in you, made in the first few minutes of the universe, nearly 14 billion years ago. The oxygen and carbon, forged in the hearts of stars that lived and died before the sun was born. The iron, cooked in a massive star and blasted out in a supernova exactly like the one we watch tonight. The gold, born in a collision of dead stars. Every atom in you is ancient beyond imagining, and every one has been on an epic journey, through the hearts of stars, through explosions, through the cold drift of space, through clouds and worlds and oceans and living things beyond counting, and all of that unimaginable journey has led, at last, to here, to a warm body in a soft bed, on a quiet night, breathing slowly, drifting towards sleep. You are the resting place of atoms that have crossed the whole history of the universe to arrive. And tonight they get to rest. Tonight you get to be still. Let them rest in you. Let the long journey pause, here, in the warmth and the dark. There is nowhere further they need to go tonight, and nowhere further you need to go. The traveling is done, for now. Now there is only rest. So rest now. You have earned it, simply by being the quiet end of such a long and violent story. Let the dead stars keep their time. Let the giants die and the gold be born, far away, in the safe and distant dark. And here, in the warm and the quiet, let yourself grow heavier, and slower, and softer, and let sleep rise up around you like warm water, and cover you, and carry you gently down. Rest now. Rest. There is nothing more to see, and nothing more to do, and nowhere else to be. Only here. Only now. Only the soft dark, and the quiet, and your own slow breathing, growing softer, and slower, and further away. Let your breathing be the slowest, softest thing in the room now. In, so gently you can barely feel it begin. And out, long and slow and complete, like a sigh at the very end of a long day. And in the small quiet space after the breath goes out, before the next one comes, let there be a little pause, a little pool of stillness, and let yourself rest in it. There is no hurry for the next breath. It will come on its own. It always has. Let it come slowly, in its own time, and let each pause between the breaths grow a little longer, a little softer, a little deeper, as you sink. And let your body grow so heavy that it seems to have no edges anymore, so warm and so still and so held that you can barely tell where you end and the bed begins, where the bed ends and the dark begins, where you end and the great quiet turning universe begins. It is all one soft dark now, holding you, and you are dissolving into it gently, the way a small warmth dissolves into a larger warmth, the way a single beat dissolves into a slow steady rhythm, the way a waking mind dissolves, softly, into sleep. There is nothing to hold on to, and nothing you need to hold on to, because everything is holding you. The bed holds you. The room holds you. The earth holds you, gently, in the oldest grip there is. The sun holds the earth, and the galaxy holds the sun, and all of it turns together, slowly, in the dark, holding you at the very center of its great soft turning, safe, and warm, and small, and exactly where you belong. You do not have to keep anything turning. You do not have to keep anything at all. The stars will keep their own time. The dead will keep their own rhythm. The galaxy will turn all night without you. And you may finally, completely, let go of the day, of the wondering, of the holding, of the keeping, and simply rest, and be held, and drift, and sleep. Let go, now, of the last of the day. Whatever it held, whatever was said, whatever was left undone, whatever waits for you tomorrow. Set it down. It will keep. It will all still be there in the morning, and you will meet it rested, and it will be lighter then. None of it needs you tonight. Not one piece of it. The one thing the whole world agrees on is that the night is for setting things down, and you are allowed, now, to set everything down. There is nothing in your hands anymore. Feel how light that is. Feel how much room there is in you when there is nothing left to hold. Breathe in, slowly. And out. And sink. And let the dark be soft around you. Not empty, full. Full of turning stars, and drifting clouds, and slow gold light, and 100 million quiet clocks keeping the time of the galaxy, all of it far away, all of it gentle, all of it holding you at the center of its great slow turning like a sleeping child held in the middle of a vast and quiet house. The whole universe is awake around you, turning, working, keeping its time, so that you do not have to. You can let it all go on without you now. You can close the door on it, and rest. You are lying in a warm bed, in a quiet room, on a small blue world, in a modest arm of an ordinary galaxy, and every layer of it is holding you, the bed, the room, the world, the sun, the galaxy, all of it arranged, over 13 billion years, so that tonight there could be a warm dark place with someone breathing slowly in it, safe, and held, and drifting toward sleep. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs fixing tonight. You are exactly where you should be, doing exactly what you should be doing, which is nothing at all. Breathe in. And out. Slower now. Softer now. Each breath a little quieter than the last. Each one carrying you a little further down, into the warm dark, into the deep stillness, into sleep. Somewhere out in the dark, 100 million dead stars are turning, quietly, keeping perfect time, and they will keep it all night, and they do not need you to listen. Sleep now. You are safe. You are held. You are home. And all is well. And all is quiet. And all is calm. Let the last words fade, now, into the quiet. There is nothing more to say, and nothing more you need to hear. Only the soft music, and the dark, and your own slow breath, carrying you the rest of the way. If you are still awake, let these final minutes be the gentlest of all. No story now. No stars to picture. Only rest. Only the warm dark, and the weight of your body sinking into the bed, and the slow tide of your breathing, in and out, growing quieter, and slower, and further away, until you can no longer tell where the breath ends and the sleep begins. Somewhere far off, a small bright star is turning, keeping perfect time. It will turn all night. It will turn all through your sleep, and be turning still when you wake, and it asks nothing of you, and it holds its faithful rhythm in the dark whether you are there to hear it or not. Let it turn. Let it keep the time. And let yourself, at last, stop keeping anything at all. Rest now. Drift now. Sleep now. You are safe, and you are held, and you are home, and all is quiet, and all is well. Rest, and drift, and sleep.